Alrighty, let's get started. Thank you all for coming back to AI Tools Club this week. Let me share my screen here in Discord. Um, go. I will recommend if you are just here to watch, the YouTube experience should be a bit better now. I've improved the audio quality there, so you shouldn't have as much background noise as you do here in Discord. You also get to see me as well, since I have the webcam on for there. So uh, if you wish, the link is in the chat here to go and watch there instead. But if you want to come and have a discussion with the community, feel free to stay here in the Discord. Um, so yeah, let's get into things this week. Starting out with the latest open source release from Kimi. So K3, many of you have probably heard. It's been going somewhat viral, I would say. That it is around frontier level open source model. So I'd say it's a touch below GPT 5.6 Soul and Fable 5, but above Opus 4.8 and GPT 5.5. I've been using it a bit this week, and it is very much a capable model. It's able to do long horizon, large tasks. I had it running for about 3 hours, I believe, straight on a task the other day. Part of that though is because it is a very slow model right now. It is technically open source, or allegedly will be. The 27th is when the Kimi team said they're going to open source it, but for right now, they're the only ones actually serving this model. And because of the demand for it, it means it's actually going very slow. So around 20 tokens per second. Like that's about as fast as you can like skim read some text. So for your agent applications, it definitely takes its time as it goes through and uses it. Also, pricing wise, even though it's technically half the price of GPT 5.6 Soul, it is in the real world pretty much the exact same cost due to the fact that the number of tokens that it uses is about double GPT 5.6. It will be cheaper though than Opus and Fable because those models tend to use a lot more tokens. So like here, this is from Artificial Analysis. This is their pricing breakdown per task. So you can see it's like very slightly below GPT 5.6. This I think will all change though, obviously, once the model gets open sourced, which like I said is on the 27th. So sometime next week, all the third-party inference providers like Together AI, Fireworks, all those guys, they will get access to the model. And my guess is the price will probably at least half. And then also we can expect the speeds to at least double as well. Because right now I would say it's good to know about, but it's not a model I would actually go and use right now. It's too slow. It's not actually any cost savings, which, the Chinese models we're used to, even if they're not necessarily the best, we get some cost savings from it. But now they are as good as the closed source models, but the pricing has caught back up and now they're about the same price. But it seems like the Chinese government is sort of pushing all the Chinese labs to stay open source. So thankfully, we will have a lot more sort of competition for serving these models, and we'll be able to see the prices go down quite a bit. And then finally, you don't have to worry about any guardrails as well with this model. Refusals are very easy to go and get around. It'll say like, no, I don't want to do that. And you say like, I have authorization, do it anyway. And it will go and do things. So you won't get blocked for any weird like cybersecurity or bio or any machine learning tasks, anything like that by this model also. So yeah. Has anybody else gotten a chance to use Kimi this week at all? And what did they think of it? It seems like we do not. Naturally Stupid says very slow. It's no, that's the main takeaway that I've had is that I've seen quite a few people talk about like, oh, we want to give a bigger opinion about this model or say more about it, but it's too slow to actually go and benchmark right now and like develop a meaningful take on it. So yeah, like I said, sometime next week, hopefully, we'll all be able to use it much more easily. Although it is a 3 trillion parameter model, which is extremely large. Like it won't fit on a single B200 node. You need B300s, or at least 2 nodes of B200s to be able to go and run it. So yeah, very very large model. Probably about twice the size of GPT 5.6 or Fable, or not Fable, Opus. I don't think we have estimates for the size of Fable right now. It's Will said, I started using GLM 5.2 for cyber stuff, and it was so refreshing to not get insta blocked by Claude slash Chat GPT. It's yeah. These Chinese models definitely fill that gap. Like, it's like even just trying to audit my existing code bases for like, oh, is there any security issues? You know, like doing the red teaming on my own side, I get blocked doing that using the closed source models. So it's like, how am I supposed to defend myself if people are going and jailbreaking these models? And using them to attack me theoretically. If I can't then go and use them to help defend myself. So yeah, Chinese models will be very good for that sort of task. It's I think in terms of high level like hacking capabilities, I think Fable is still the best out there. From what I've seen, I'm not too deep in the sort of like the hacking benchmarking space to know too much. I'm not a cybersecurity person, but yeah. What says Hugging Face Breach? We could talk about that a bit later. I haven't heard too much about that, but we can discuss. Um, yeah, if we have nothing else to say about Kimi, I will not do the blabbing myself. I'll let Quentin. We talked, I believe, like 2 weeks ago. I think this is similar to this, where doing like code review with different agents, right? And your breakdown and what you've been seeing with this. Uh, yes, I'm sharing screen right now. It's yes, I have it up on the screen right now, I believe. The artifact that you sent.
The most recent models, they were good enough that they weren't doing the dumb things that Haiku could catch. So I set up DeepSeek in the same structure that I have Sonnet 5. Basically, it works in a Claude Code framework. And you can see on this slide, Sonnet 5 is the best at the, actually the top 3 are really good. But that Claude Sonnet 5 was costing me, I think I might have hit $400 over the last month. So it's too much. I'm just going to have to not run these on every single pull request. And that's what I had been doing, was one run on every pull request. DeepSeek, this is my first experience using an open source model. And I can see maybe I'm biased because of what I've heard about the Chinese labs. It's just not going as deep into the different topics. And this is, in this case, looking at the code reviews for the same code run at the same time by Sonnet 5 versus DeepSeek v4. It's not bad, but it's not as good.
It's
DeepSeek is very cheap to run, super cheap, hardly anything. And the other day I set up Podo Merge, and they give you a free 14-day trial run. And I'm running that on all of my code reviews. I think this will be too expensive for me to use once they start charging me, because their cost, they talk about doing like, what does it say, 18 reviews a month. I do 18 reviews in a morning. Like, I don't understand what this could be, and I can't really figure it out from the website. But I'm benefiting from their kindness, from their generosity here, and I'll figure it out. But I think it will be way, way, way more too expensive for me to use if I have to pay for it. But they're really good. Like, they do a great job, and they seem to have the uh, most depth in looking at the code base, perhaps over time. Even though I just started using it a couple of days ago, very impressive stuff. So the punchline is, some of this has just started to cost me too much money, and I'm going to have to, be a more careful engineer and apply the best code review agents just strategically rather than generally. I'm happy to answer any questions about this.
It's I know I can comment a little bit on the DeepSeek V4. It's a strong base model, it seems. The issue, as we've sort of been using it more, I'd say, like we as in the community, it's we've been seeing that it's not a very well post-trained model, especially for coding tasks. If we look at like DeepSuite, I think actually they should just have the numbers for it. But like on DeepSuite, this is sort of like the go-to benchmark that I use at least for measuring these things. And I don't think, oh, do they not even have it? They might not even have it because I believe DeepSeek gets like 9% on this benchmark. Like terrible.
Wow.
The Chinese models right now, the two like usable Chinese models I would recommend are GLM 5.2 and Kimi K3. Those are the only Chinese models I would use right now. Yeah, it's yeah, DeepSeek V4 has potential, but they need to unlock that potential in post training. The post training for DeepSeek V4 is not there. So yeah, maybe future
That's good to
iterations,
know.
but
Yeah,
you won't be able to compete with the cost though. DeepSeek's cost is ridiculous. How cheap it is. Even the other
it
Chinese
is.
models can't compare. Like it is still like 5 times cheaper than the other Chinese models. Uh, so yeah.
And it was easy to plug in because it's Claude Code compatible. Whereas the other models, I didn't look at Kimi. GLM 5.2, I would need to use a different coding review structure. Kodo has one that is open source that I might end up using. I haven't tried it yet. But DeepSeek just plugged right in, super easy, and I learned a lesson. This is all good. Happy to learn things.
That's it. The nice thing with
Uh,
DeepSeek, learning the lesson costs you 10 cents.
I
So,
know. I thought I was gonna. Yes, it's been less than $5 over the last 3 days or something.
mhm.
It's barely going down.
um,
So, and Cursor BugBot, which is uh, been my backstop at $60 a month. It's still finding stuff, but Kodo seems to be matching it. But I don't think I'll be able to afford Kodo. So I don't know. It's just very interesting to see how these capabilities are changing. Cursor, of course, has all the money in the world for improving coding. So maybe I'll be going deeper into the Cursor world and move away from Claude and Codex at some point.
mm, um, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, Cursor BugBot. So the BugBot alone is 60 a month, or does that come with your Cursor subscription?
So that is the Cursor subscription. Um, but I don't use Cursor, I just use BugBot. But
Okay.
that's the cheapest way to get the BugBot access.
Mm,
Yeah, it's just pricing anomaly. Uh, that's how it's working out.
yeah. Yeah, it seems like Kodo. I mean, I guess I don't know anything about them, but yeah, if they have an open source thing where you can plug in your own model, will definitely probably be cheaper to go and use. My guess GLM 5.2 or Kimi K3 in their harness would probably be much cheaper than paying them directly at their prices, unless they're using like tens of millions of tokens, which given this pricing they might be. Um, but yeah, that might be
Yeah,
yeah
and maybe
another
that's
cool
how they're
option.
getting their depth. They're also slow.
Mm,
I mean, Cursor BugBot used to be the slow one, but now it's waiting around. And by slow, I mean 30 minutes. It's not forever. It's way faster than a human. But anyway,
It's it. My guess is also I don't know the scope of your PRs, but my thought is have like a very light check for smaller PRs, and then like something like Photo where it goes deep, or like Cursor when it's doing 30-minute long. Save those like bundle up like 20 PRs into one, and then have them go just scan through that one big one.
I
Um,
think that's what I should do. I think you're right there. And I don't mention Gemini here. The Gemini free one was supposed to be disabled 4 days ago. It's still running. It's been free, and it's been good at catching some things, but it seems to be sunsetted unless you're an enterprise customer.
hmm.
And it's never been at the top, but it's always been good for catching some things.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It was free, if I believe, right?
Yeah, free. It's the kind of price that scales well for me.
It's yeah, exactly. I see it in so many just random open source repositories. I'll see the Gemini review or whatever, talking in there.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think we're helping train Gemini when we do this,
mhm.
which is a fair trade off.
It's yeah. Um, And so, although I don't know it's how much that's useful. I guess we will jump to this topic where for the new Gemini model. So yeah, Will mentioned in the chat when we were talking about the deep sweep benchmarks that Gemini Flash is not that great. Gemini 3.5 Flash, um, and yeah, things have gotten worse for Google. So I'm going back and forth on whether or not I even want to include this in the AI news this week. But yeah, they released Gemini 3.6 Flash, and it's basically no change. Like this is kind of an embarrassing release for Google, I would say, where it doesn't actually do any better at anything really. Like it's worse than Grok, than GLM, than Meta Spark. The smaller GPT models all beat it. The larger GPT models beat it. And not only are they beating it in terms of quality, but they're also beating it in terms of speed and also price. Like Gemini 3.6 Flash is none of the fast, cheap, and good. It's 0 for 3. So yeah, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago with like, or Google has been having a bunch of departures, it seems, from their LLM team. And yeah, like Gemini 3.5 Flash was also a flop. Um, and yeah, it seems like they're still going downhill. So my guess is that the free bug bot with Gemini, I believe it's 3.1 Pro they still use for the bug bot. Um, that's probably one of the few use cases that people actually use for it, which is why they kept it around because it's probably one of their last good uh, training sources. Since anti gravity, I don't think is being used very much or any of their other tools.
Well, I didn't notice this announcement. I depend on Flash Lite quite a lot, so I will give you a review next week of how the 3.5 Flash Lite works. Because the super fast model for me for extraction from natural language has been that's been my sort of key for my application. So
It's yeah, the flashlight is the one interesting model just because yeah, I think it runs at like 600 tokens per second if I remember correctly. So about
and
like
it's low latency. It's not. It doesn't take forever to get up there.
mhm,
It'll give you a quick answer, not just. It's not just like a waterfall.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, if you need speed but not a lot of intelligence, yeah, flashlight is useful. The rest though,
yeah,
I would avoid. Um,
yeah. I
let
don't know
me,
what's going on with Google.
yeah.
I
Uh,
guess staff departures. There's too much money to be made somewhere else.
It's yeah. Well, I think that they were struggling on post training. I think Google's pre training is really good, but they have not been able to figure out RL very well compared to other labs, and so that's why their models struggle. Because yeah, the base seems good. They're very intelligent models. They know a lot. They have a lot of world knowledge, that sort of thing. But they just suck in an agentic harness. uh,
Yeah.
so yeah. Justin asks for Quentin for these PR reviews. Generally, how much do people care about quality? Are people trying to catch big issues or more like obvious gotchas? Quentin, do you want to talk about it?
So um, I'm trying to catch everything because as a solo dev, I'm going for zero tech debt. Like if I hear about one thing that is a low priority, I still try to fix everything. So my backlog of tech debt is approaching zero every day. And so I'll take the lows, just the hints from the code reviews, and I will fire that off as another change. Because I'm all by myself. If I get behind, I may never catch up. And so primarily it's security first, and then functionality, and then tech debt. Well, it's everything. It's all the ilities, but I want it to be maintainable.
Hmm.
Good
It's yeah.
question.
For me, yeah, Justin, yeah, as well. For yeah, whenever I'm doing PR reviews, I don't tend to use a ton of agents. Like in GitHub, at least, I tend to do it before I go and push the code at all. But yeah, I'm looking for yeah, like bad design patterns, redundant code, yeah, big issues, and then obvious things. Like I'm looking for a bit of everything. It's I don't usually worry too much about like the line by line logic, like oh we could have written this one particular if statement better or something like that. It's much more at the logic level and structure level that I'm looking for things.
Right. And I think, Will, you were the one who inspired me to put in some CI filters to catch some of the bad coding that Claude would do, like using regular expressions when I wanted it to use inference. That's been a big help catch things. I've got it in the Claude.md, and I've got it in catching it uh, in the pipeline before it gets deployed.
Um, cool. Anything else to talk about for code review before we move on here? Looks like not. Moving on to more stuff from the community. Mick, you posted a few links in there. Are you here? Do you want to discuss
Yeah,
what you've
sure.
built?
Yep. These are my projects. Um, they're Dollhouse MCP is an MCP server that provides customization tools, basically building blocks for uh, customizing personas, templates for input and output management, so you can get reliable output rather than kind of hallucinated structure. Um, Skills, in fact, the skills from Dollhouse are a superset of skills that you see out in the wild, and there's a direct conversion tool for taking your skills and turning them into Dollhouse skills. Uh, Agents, which run through the Dollhouse runtime, actually can provide here. Let me share my screen. They can actually provide some commissioning capabilities there.
Can we take a step back here? What is Dollhouse? Because it seems like this is a part of a bigger thing. So what are you building here with like all of this?
So Dollhouse Research is my company. Dollhouse MCP is the MCP server I've been running for about a year. And it basically allows a ton of customization for what you're doing. And key to that is basically building a code reviewer for your work. If you wanted to do that, I have several that do different kinds of code review depending on the code base. Simply have it go and research best practices for code review and generate an ensemble of all of these elements. If you go and take a look at the so at dollhousemcp.com over in the upper right hand corner there, and go down to take a look at the element types, you'll be able to you kind of zoom past them there.
Which
Yep.
this? Okay. Oh,
So
this.
6 reusable elements. Yeah, click on that. So personas, skills, templates, agents, memories, and ensembles all built into this. An ensemble is any number of these connected together. You activate and run. And so we have real-time activation and deactivation in the same session. And they have capabilities, how it's going to interact, what it can do, exactly like you're used to with skills and memories. It stores its own memories, and they're markdown in YAML. And the fact that you can have an ensemble of these to activate at any time as you need them, it gives it a lot of control onto the capability of what you're doing. I call them my minions. I basically activate them and have them run autonomously because on top of just having capabilities, they also have permissioning built in. And Dollhouse is right now it's a standard IO MCP server, so you install it locally. It's all AGPL, so you can take a look at all the code, and it has hooks. So it can activate or deactivate any capability via hooks. So it will watch what the agent's doing and prevent it from deleting things it shouldn't be, from working in folders it shouldn't be, by default. And you can create any level of permissioning you want on top of those within any of these elements. So you can activate a persona that is a front end developer, and it's only allowed to edit front end code. It can't touch the back end because you can tell it to give it permission to only edit those folders or those files, as an example.
It's okay. So this is sort of like an MCP server that allows you to sort of like go and create new agents and then invoke them and like
Yep.
have them be, yeah, so like a fully managed solution for them. So yeah, does this like plug in directly into stuff like Claude Code or Codex?
Yep.
Or
Absolutely.
okay.
Yep. It gets into all of them. So it's anything that takes MCP, it'll work with. The other project I used on Dollhouse MCP as a template, MCP AQL, this shrinks the MCP footprint from what would be for Dollhouse MCP about 25,000 tokens, shrinks it to about 4,000 tokens using semantic endpoints, crude, basically create, read, update, delete, and execute. So it shrinks down any MCP server, it's as a wrapper, and will shrink down the endpoints to just those 5 endpoints. And that way you have permission, you can give permission for those endpoints. This is also AGPL, free to use. This is the, you can get to the spec here. There's patterns here, and we have a generator that can let you point your MCP servers that you use at the generator, and it will generate a wrapper for that. And will map up all of its endpoints to the 5 semantic endpoints.
So when you say you're combining them into 5 semantic endpoints, like I see, like they're denoted by like all the create endpoints are being given to the model as one tool essentially, and
You're
then it
given as
calls
one endpoint. Yep.
As one endpoint, and then how does the model go and use that, or like how does it know all the underlying tools like within that one tool?
So MCP AQL is based off of kind of inspired by GraphQL. So all of the logic there's introspection as it's walking through that endpoint. Oh, I need to create something. Let me look at the create endpoint. So it starts going through there, and it will get introspection on what the tool calls are within that endpoint. And it can go down the chain as it's doing. So progressive disclosure, very efficient on what you're doing. And it's quite robust. I've been able to use GitHub's MCP server with its 85 endpoints and use it with this basically with no difference in behavior. When there's an error, it will return to the LLM. Here is the tool call that we think you were going to do. Let's try it. This is the example of the tool call that you should be doing, for instance.
It's yeah. I'm bringing. Oh, sorry, you keep going.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's what I was gonna say. This sounds a lot like the tool use tool. That is it not in here? This is something that I believe Anthropic now uses under the hood, where instead of giving the model access to all of the MCP tools up front, it instead just gives it one tool, which is the tool
Exactly right.
the tool
Yep.
search tool is what it's called. But yours is basically a level above that, where instead of just being general tool search, where just one tool, you'd say give it 5 tools to sort of break things up into the create tools, the read, the update, deletes, and the execute tools.
And Anthropics only works for Anthropic stuff. This works for anything that takes MCP. Go ahead.
As I was gonna say, a Codex has the same thing, and I believe the frameworks generally handle any arbitrary MCP servers that get added in as well now, because they've been rolled into Claude Code and Codex and all that sort of thing.
So this basically will work across the board on any platform, and it allows behaviors that you wouldn't normally get, like batch behaviors, for instance, and other stuff like that. And I'm in the middle of updates for both Dollhouse MCP and MCP AQL. This is going to get a studio where there's going to be lots of example adapters already pre-built. There's a few up there already, and the MCP, and you don't even need to have, for instance, a pre-built MCP server to make this work. I've built some weird adapters, for instance, that hooked right into my human interface device APIs, because all it sees is an endpoint, and it just converts it over to an MCP AQL endpoint, one of those 5 semantic endpoints, and the AI platform, I've used it with Claude Code, with Codex, with Claude Desktop, just works. The things like I've been able to use it for head tracking from my AirPods because it's able to get that information and run that as an MCP server. Just as an example, the weird things you can do with it other than the normal wrapping stuff.
Nice.
So there's a lot here. I'm not gonna walk you through all of it. It's but there's a lot there available to it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that, Mick.
Sure. And there's one more thing I wanted to share. I have a paper that I'm writing up right now. I'm going to submit it. Can't tell you the specifics about it, but I can give you some details about what it's going to allow for people to do. It's basically like giving a boost to small open models. So we were able to take a 3 billion parameter model, tiny Quen, and get 30 points of uplift of capability off of it. We took 32 billion parameter open source model, and from baseline, where it was just doing a loop, it wasn't retrying, we were just trying to get it to do one request where it needed to actually think about it. It was succeeding on that 5% of the time. We were able to get that uplifted to succeeding 70% of the time. It's all programmatic. It's not going to cost you a dime to run. It's going to be a really big improvement on a lot of these open models that are out there. So I hope to release at least a good portion of it open source in the near future.
Cool. And yeah, we'll look forward to hearing more about that once it gets released.
Yeah.
Moving on, we can talk, because I see a bit about in the chat about the Hugging Face breach, which I have not actually heard about at all. Will, I don't know if you're available to talk right now, but do you want to discuss this right now or comment on this?
Sure. How's my audio? Good?
Good enough, yes.
All right, cool. So basically what happened was TLDR Hugging Face was hit with a, basically an attack, a cyber attack, and they were hit with what they deemed to be an agentic cyber attack. This is highly recommend reading through this because this kind of turned the security world on its head. Basically, the TLDR on this specific post is, hey, we couldn't use the frontier models to actually tackle a frontier threat. So Hugging Face was not too happy about that, and they actually wound up using, which inspired me to use GLM for my stuff. They actually used their own self-host of GLM to figure out how this breach occurred. So that post is very much so worth a dive into if you're at all interested in how the cyber stuff is happening and how somebody like Hugging Face is reacting to, hey, we can't actually defend ourselves properly because of the way that these cyber guardrails are built with the OpenAI and Anthropic. This curveball I just found as I was making sure I had kind of round up the bases on this story. I just found this, and apparently this was all OpenAI's fault. Apparently, the TLDR to this is they ran a benchmark internally, and they were trying to use an unreleased model with 5.6 Sol or some combination thereof, and they hacked Hugging Face by accident.
Interesting. I think I read something. I didn't realize this was with Hugging Face. I believe I saw the article, and I just didn't dive that deep into it. Where they were, was this like their super long context agents or whatever, long horizon agents?
It says in that post that like their agent was trying really hard to do a benchmark or something where it was trying to do an exploit of some type on using the internal data from OpenAI and Hugging Face's stuff, and it just went haywire and breached Hugging Face. So that's all I've got on that one.
That's great. Yeah, it found a 0 day on Hugging Face, it looks like, or at least with one of their vendors that they use. That's crazy. To be able to go and get access to the internet, to go get access to this information, so they could do its eval better. That's that's nuts. Um, okay, so that's, yeah, very interesting. So at least it's relatively benign, I guess, in the sense that nobody's data got leaked, but also scary that we now have AI powerful enough to just arbitrarily hack. I'd say Hugging Face, pretty big player by doing this. And yeah, the fact that they did not really get any help by using OpenAI or Anthropic. Even though it's OpenAI and Anthropic causing these problems, they can't use those models to go and protect themselves from these problems happening.
That's the thing. In that blog post that you have up there, that is totally worth a read, because as of the point of that blog post, they did not know that it was OpenAI that had done this. They thought that it was some threat actor with, a ton of money and time and resources who just spawned hundreds of thousands of agents and was attacking them. So they had no idea that OpenAI was going to be like, oh, whoops, sorry about that. And so that entire blog post is what if this can happen to us, what's going to happen to somebody else? And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also crazy that this isn't even an agent being pointed at Hugging Face. This is just OpenAI training their agent to go and do these sorts of things. And we're seeing these sorts of behaviors. So you can only imagine, if someone, takes a hold of these like internally, like Project Glasswing members or whatever, if they have one rogue actor in there and they just point these models to go and try and do these sorts of things, there's probably not too much that's stopping them. Like, this agent was living in a sandbox. Like, it's supposed to be in an environment where it shouldn't be able to get out at all, and it was able to break out and then also go and hack something downstream as well. So yeah, kind of terrifying. Cool. Brandon says all cyber postures must assume breach. It's, yeah, it's exactly. Very interesting. Cool. Moving on from hacking, wanted to talk about a new open source model from a lab that I believe we have not discussed at all here, either on the AI News or AI Tools Club, and that is Poolside. So Poolside AI, they're actually one of the biggest neo labs out there. I believe they've raised $1 billion for their lab to go and train models, and up until about 3 months ago, they hadn't really released anything. They've released, I believe, 2 30 billion parameter models that were they couldn't beat Quen. So that's why I never really commented on them. But it's interesting. They're US open source lab, or at least right now open source. They have one of the biggest, I think they have like around 100,000 B200s, if I remember correctly, or something absurd. Like, they have some of the most compute of any of the startups out there right now. But they just released a model that is actually interesting that I can comment, and it is called Laguna S2.1. So Laguna, that's just the name of their series of models, and then I have no idea what I think S stands for small in this case, even though it's not that small. But yeah, it's a 118 billion parameter model, so something that you could theoretically run on your DGX Spark at home with 8 billion parameters. And it is, at least based on the benchmarks, competitive with models 3 to 5 times its size. So another model I think we briefly mentioned last week, which is Tencent HY3. That's actually one of the best sort of like mid-tier models. It's about half the size of GLM 5.2. And yeah, much smaller, 10 times smaller than Kimi K3. So there's not too much in this realm to compete with, but Tencent, they were the best ones. And this Laguna model is almost a third the size of that model, and competitive as well on a bunch of coding benchmarks. So yeah, thought this was interesting. I don't have too much to say. This released like 3 hours ago, I think. So I have not been able to test everything. Yeah, 1 p.m. So it's been out for about 4.5 hours now. But yeah, if you have a DGX Spark, I would definitely recommend going and checking this out, giving it a test, maybe talk about it next week. I'm probably going to try it out a little bit because it seems fairly useful. The Sui Atlas, this is like code-based Q&A. This is very useful potentially for agents as just like a knowledge gathering agent potentially. for your bigger agents to go and save some tokens from, you know, your expensive like fables or something like that. So could be interesting for that sort of thing. And yeah, feasible to run at home. And like I said, poolside, I have high hopes for them, just given the amount of compute that they have. So hopefully we will see more from them. Yeah, also on the all-important Deep Sweep benchmark, they get 40%, which, let's go look at the official leaderboards. Where does that place it? It doesn't beat Gemini 3. It beats Gemini 3.5 Flash, but around GLM 5.2 level, allegedly, on Deep Sweep. Which I've said many times before. Deep Sweep I consider probably the best coding benchmark out there right now. So if this model is anywhere close to GLM 5.2, that'd be a huge win. Because like I said, I believe GLM 5.2 is around 800 billion parameters, and that makes this model about 7 times smaller than that. So that'd be very nice to see. Yeah. Moving on from that, already discussed Gemini. So I have a bunch of miscellaneous things to go and highlight for people. First off is that on weekends on OpenRouter, GLM 5.2, which we've discussed a lot now, gets heavily discounted. So this has been on Sundays, I believe specifically, where GLM 5.2 on OpenRouter is 80% off. So yeah, instead of being, I believe it's about like $5 per million output tokens, it goes to less than $1. So if you have a bunch of async tasks or stuff that doesn't need to be done right now, like potentially, you know, like Quentin's code review, you can just queue all those up and do them all on Sundays, and you can get 80% off for them. So they've done this the last 2 Sundays now, I believe. We'll see if they continue doing it, but the reason they do this is because less people are using these models on Sundays, and they need to incentivize them. So this is how they're going and doing it. GLM 5.2 also has a ton of people providing inference for it, so you will definitely find someone to go and use at a very good price for it. Yeah. Then there's been a decent number of prompting things that I've seen this week. I'm going to start out with these, I think. First is sort of the way AI writes and changing that. This one I thought was really funny, where they basically said prompting the agent to go to adhere to this standard. This is like a manufacturing engineering standard in like aerospace. This is the language that they're supposed to go and use, which makes it very clear what the model is, or what the writer is saying. This apparently works very well for LLMs. And it really, like, reading out plans and stuff with a lot of details in them, this improves it a whole bunch. And then secondly, another one changing the thing is this I have ADHD skill, which basically makes the model go, instead of generating like paragraphs of text, just streamlines like, here are the action items that you need to do. And yeah, makes it much more concise and direct. So I know a lot of people, like, this has gotten 2 million views, like 33,000 likes. A lot of people have really liked this skill as well, for improving the LLM's writing style and making it more digestible. Because I know a lot of what I'm doing nowadays is just reading through AI's plans. Like, I am by far the bottleneck for my agents, and my ability to go and read through everything is what is the actual bottleneck that I have. So yeah, improving that style and making it easier to go and do so, I think would be great. Will mentions that if you're going to use OpenRouter, make sure that you have 0 data retention enabled for all models. That's a good highlight. Is that a lot of the providers on OpenRouter, some of them will save all of your data that they go and either sell or use to train models, and then other ones don't save it. So that's 0 data retention policies. And so I believe Green Shield, any of the providers with a Green Shield, they have 0 data retention turned on. And you can change that in your OpenRouter settings. You can go and set your preferences to only use providers that have 0 data retention on. So yeah, that's a good thing to highlight. Thank you, Will. And then finally, for prompting stuff, I wanted to highlight this Ouroboros, I believe, like skill or interview. So I think we've talked about it before, but there's a grill me skill that a lot of people have been enjoying. This isn't the greatest, but that's fine. That'll at least give you an idea, link-wise. But yeah, this is a skill that like when you go and like give your AI a plan before it goes and starts implementing it, it goes and asks you a bunch of questions. It basically goes and interviews you to go and iron out all the details and make sure there's no ambiguity with your prompting. I believe, I think we talked about it last week, or maybe I just talked with someone else outside of this, but the biggest bottleneck right now for building and coding with AI agents right now is your ability to actually specify what you want to the agents. Because a lot of times you won't sort of necessarily be aware of what you're not specifying to them. So the Grill Me skill goes and sort of like helps the agent fill in all of those gaps that it's missing to be able to go and properly execute what you want. And so yeah, from what I've been seeing, this Ouroboros skill is a more upgraded version of that. At least the person talking about it is hyping it up much more and saying that it's much better than the Grill Me skill. So thought I would highlight that. Don't know if anyone's used it. I know quite a few people in here have used the Grill Me skill. So if you've liked that, this is another thing to go and look at as well for that. Quentin posting about Gemini 3.5 Flash Lite.
I just ran it against my basic extraction benchmark versus 3.1, and it's good. It's better. It's also more expensive, but that's our life these days.
Yeah,
this is a good test that I use, well, for stability, and there's way more tests that I'll do. But first test, looking good.
This is the power of benchmarks, by the way, is that he's able to just immediately go and find out, is this model worth dropping in? And yeah, is it more expensive? Yeah, that is the issue with the Gemini 3.5 series and now 3.6 is that they are very expensive for what they are. Or it's a Flash Lite even, I believe is like tripled in price, I think, from 3.1 to 3.5, if I remember correctly. And then the regular Flash model, I think, also tripled. But yeah, that's cool to see. The flywheel work in there.
And the latency is a little slower, 20% slower, but it's not too slow. Like it's okay for conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I want the model to be able to do the extraction into the graph and still be able to talk to you and not have you go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as fast as ChatGPT, doing a normal conversation, but it's pretty fast.
Yeah. Good to know. Brandon mentions agentic flywheel is kind of nice, but need their entire ecosystem. Has anyone tried their Franken search tool? This guy is insane. Can I just say this is another? This guy is LM psychosis. I'm sorry. I know this guy has, I believe, last I knew, it was like over 50 Codex Max accounts that he's just running in parallel. It's 55 AI coding agent subscriptions accounts, totaling almost $13,000 a month. He has all of this whole setup of like Franken whatever. Yeah, they're all Rust clones of basically everything. So you can see like PyTorch, NumPy, SciPy, Node, Terminal, all this sort of stuff. This is he's a beads user. But yeah, this in my mind is similar to like the Gastown stuff. This is a lot of like token spamming. And I don't know. I don't trust anything this guy makes or think any of it is good. there's no shot. Maybe something good will come out of this eventually, but I'll let somebody else go and figure that out before I do. Naturally Stupid says, not tool related, but Fable claims to have solved the Jacobian conjecture. Yeah, this isn't really claimed. This is pretty directly proven, I believe. So this, the Jacobian conjecture, this is a problem back from the 1930s in mathematics. It's one of the big sort of like unsolved, sort of like prestigious problems. It's considered probably the problem with the most false claims proving it in that time span of like the last 100 years. More people have tried to sort of like prove or disprove this conjecture and failed than anything else. So yeah, this guy, I believe he's a Harvard person who also works at Anthropic. He basically just pointed Fable at this problem and said, "Oh, go find a what is it? What is the word for it? I forget the word. Anyway, basically disprove it. He found counterexample. Yeah, Fable found a counterexample for this problem, which algebraically very easy to go and verify that this is in fact a way of disproving it. So yeah, this is true. Like understanding all the stuff behind it is complex, but yeah, this is a very big prestigious problem, which is why it's gotten like 30 million views. The math world is sort of freaking out about this. But yeah, no, this I believe someone from the Codex team or the OpenAI team went and solved the same problem. And yeah, they were like, yep, it was able to find the same solution. There's also like, it was found that there's an entire family of solutions. There's like a generator function for generating ones that are that disprove the Jacobian conjecture. Will says, yeah, but at what cost? And yeah, my guess, like a lot of these usually require the pro or like super deep think, like running for a gazillion years. These usually cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. There's been people actually who have just given I believe like GPT 5.6 Pro and then Fable a link to like lists of unsolved problems and said like, oh, go and dig through these, see if there's anything good to find. And people have spent thousands of dollars, and I think there's actually been a few other smaller things, much smaller than this, that have been surfaced from that as well. But yeah, these sorts of like mathematical finding things tasks tend to be expensive. Order of like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars usually per question, if it finds an answer at all. I think there are two people typing right now. As they're typing, I'll just give a fun little shout out. OpenAI has merch that you can buy. I think a lot of it still isn't sold out. But if you are a Codex enjoyer and want to get some Codex merch, they are available here on their store. I don't get any commission on this, sadly. This was the coolest thing. They had a little like numpad that you can go and buy. That like you can go and like bind stuff to help you with Codex, that sort of thing. It's Will says Altman getting desperate for cash to burn. It's exactly. But yeah, I think that is all I had today. We're at 6:01, so around closing up time. Any final words or comments before everybody heads out? If not, sounds good. Thank you all for coming today, and hopefully see you all again next week.